We are products of our environments and respond to our world based on what we've been taught. In America, we are consistently being fed falsehoods that warp how we respond to the world around us. I'm going to outline the broad social structures and misinformation that keep racism alive in America today. I'm doing this to open the eyes of fellow Americans and to promote transparency. Just to clarify before we start, I'm going to define race. Race is a changing set of public policies, institutional practices, social norms, laws, ways of thinking, and individual decisions that organize society racially. It is done so in a flexible, covert, and overt ways to stigmatize and devalue some forms of humanity for profit, well-being, security, and to the benefit of other forms of humanity. Racism is a structure. I'm going to examine the normalized and legitimized range of policies, practices, and attitudes that produce negative outcomes for people of color. Racism is alive today through memory management. Some examples include textbooks. The civil rights movement continues to this day, but history textbooks explains the civil rights movement as existing in the past. Ironically, the very success of the civil rights movement in the 60s allows authors to imply the problem of black and white race relations has now been solved. Additionally, in history textbooks, Europeans traveling to America are called explorers. This denies the fact that millions of people were here or how sophisticated their societies were and are. Often these native groups are explained as primitive. This assumes that the Western structure of society, religion, technology, or government is right or better. Other examples of memory management include the countless statues and monuments that have been erected to the Confederacy, rich men, or non-native explorers. On the other hand, very few monuments have been created for lynching, native genocide, or slavery. This sends the message that white accomplishment, tragedy, or culture is paramount to the accomplishment, tragedy, or culture of other groups in America. Racism is alive today through media bias. A great example of this is flagship news stations. News coverage rarely covers issues facing or events in colored neighborhoods. However, when they do, people of color are portrayed as poor, criminals, or senseless rioters. This furthers stereotyping and legitimizes discrimination. Additionally, when news stations cover stories relating to the working poor, the predominant image is white Americans. In hand with this, when stories relating to the non-working poor are covered, the predominant image is African Americans. Racism is alive today through the legacy of the past. We do not live in a vacuum. Past events still send ripples through society. Some examples include lynching. For many years following Reconstruction until 1950, whites committed countless acts of violence on black Americans who tried to open businesses, run for political office, vote, or challenge white superiority in any way. Lynching profoundly impacted race relations in this country and shaped geographic, political, social, and economic conditions for African Americans in ways that are still evident today. Per the Equal Justice Initiative, there's a tie between lynching and black poverty today. Another example is Government Economic Initiative. After World War II, via the GI Bill, the government helped citizens purchase homes with subsidized loans, go to school, or receive a decent paying job. This was almost exclusively for whites, because banks, schools, and employers could still discriminate. This allowed whites to move into new suburbs and gather wealth. This wealth was passed on to their children primarily through education and opportunity. While the economic disparity between whites and people of color is not because of the GI Bill, it was definitely exacerbated because of it. Other government economic initiatives, from 40 Acres and a Mule to the Great Depression's New Deal, were specifically geared for white advancement. This is not to say that all whites are well off, but when given equal opportunities in education, people of color succeed at the same rate as whites. Racism is alive today through resources and locations. A prime example of this is neighborhoods. Through redlining, discrimination, and the legacy of economic oppression, many black and Latinx people are in poor neighborhoods. Now referred to as inner cities, these neighborhoods trap the younger generation in poverty through impoverished schools, minimum wage jobs, and low property house values. On the other hand, suburbs, which are predominantly white, not that all whites reside in them, have better access to well-funded schools and good-paying jobs. This, alongside with the equity in homes, allows for the opportunity for the younger generations. Lastly, racism is alive today through law enforcement. An example of this is mass incarceration. More than half of new prison sentences to state prisons between 1985 and 2000 were for drug offenses. In 2013, 36.2% of the prison population was black, while African Americans only make up 12.6% of America's population. This goes against data that indicates drug use, and presumably drug dealing is highest in rural areas. Additionally, a recent study has indicated that white men are 4 times more likely to deal drugs than their black counterparts. This means blacks are being discriminated against by law enforcement. Mass incarceration has led to an increased political disenfranchisement for African Americans. 1 in 7 African American men has lost the right to vote, and in some states, the rate is 1 in 4. This gives whites more voting power. Additionally, in most states, a criminal record bars individuals from public benefits, including education, food, and housing assistance. Racism is perpetuated today. I've outlined the major factors that lend to racism continuation in society. Please look at how these cultural arms of racism touch you and the decisions you make based on them. Thank you for your time.